The leader that I shadowed that I consider to be an effective leader is Victor Zavala, a law enforcement professional of 26 years. And to put things in better perspective, it's not just during the completion of this project that I have shadowed him, but someone I've been shadowing for about 3 years now. Victor Zavala is a sergeant for one of the largest law enforcement agencies in the nation. He's not just someone that I think of as a leader because of his supervisory role in law enforcement. He's a mentor and someone I consider a friend. Purposely shadowing him in the last couple of weeks reminded me of how honored I am to call him that. So one would presume that in a paramilitary organization, individuals see their rank as something so significant that it's expected others who address them would address them by that. For Sergeant Zavala, his rank is not as important as the relationships and camaraderie he builds amongst the people he is responsible for, one of those people being myself. He doesn't make you feel as if there is a power dynamic, and because of that, there's a work environment created where people feel safe to provide feedback. When his subordinates are communicating with him, he doesn't mind when you call him Victor. Not Vic, he actually hates that, but Victor. Even more humbling is when we're in group settings or facilitating law enforcement related curriculum. He doesn't introduce me as his deputy or someone who works for him. He says, "This is my partner, Dale." When someone that is in a position of power over you makes you feel like you're a co-equal stakeholder of the team and that you matter, that's a good feeling. Victor exudes loyalty to his colleagues and friends very much like one would be to their family. When having discussions about other peers, he often says, "Let's remember to stay loyal to those not in the room," reminding everyone that if you're about to say something negative about someone not present, to refrain from doing so because they are not here with the ability to defend themselves. As a leader, he's also someone who reminds everyone about their own personal freedom of choice. Although I've heard several interpretations of the theory behind circle of influence versus circle of concern, Victor has truly mastered the art of this through his actions. When I'm faced with some tough challenges of, let's say, taking time off from work or being bogged down in one assignment when I prefer to be engaged in another task, many times the ultimate decision comes from someone of a higher authority than me, who explains how much of a higher priority one thing is that I'm responsible for over another. I sometimes lean on Victor for advice, and when explaining some of the challenges, he always seems to simplify it down to 2 questions. What do you want to do? And what can you control? And with those 2 questions in mind, when I tell him what I intend on doing, his only response is, "Okay." In shadowing him, I've seen him do this with employees who attend our courses. Like, for example, when an employee comes to him and asks if they can leave early due to some other obligation they've made. He informs them that if they leave, they will not receive credit for the class, but further tells them, "You do what you feel is best." When they say, "I think I'm going to leave if you're okay with that," he says, "Okay." Or if they say, "I think I'm going to stay a little bit longer," his response is still the same, "Okay." See, he gives you warning to the consequences, but never influences you to make a decision one way or another. He gives you the freedom to choose what you feel is most important to you. Lastly, one of the greatest strengths that I admire is his willingness to lead by example by doing the things that makes him uncomfortable. What many don't know about Victor unless you work with him regularly is that Victor is very much an introvert. Try to figure out how a guy with that kind of personality leads a classroom full of people. Even when we are attending meetings and trainings ourselves, I notice how he sits quietly in the back and can go an entire session without saying a word. But when he's the presenter, I mean, man, it's like a shooting star lighting up the night sky, bringing it to life.
And the basic stuff is, from our own lenses. If we don't understand, from our point of view, this is how we feel. And key in on that, because from our point of view, that's the reality, that's the world, that's our paradigm.
As you would imagine, just in some of what I shared with you already, Some of the leadership styles this leader uses are situational leadership and servant leadership. As suggested in the situational leadership model, he assigns tasks to his team based on their current competencies and confidence of that task. When it comes to servant leadership, it's easy to point out the fact that as a peace officer, our role in society is providing service to others. But looking at this from a more complex position by reflecting on what he does as a law enforcement manager and an instructor, he essentially serves those who provide service. And that contributes to the theory of Robert Greenleaf, who said good leaders must first become good servants. Being a good servant is a natural feeling. It's transformational. It's the ability to empower and encourage others. It's building trust. And in pursuing all those desires, one has to be committed to both the common cause and the community that it is being built around. Victor does this in what seems to be religiously. And in watching him do this, it has helped me grow personally, and I too have seen him grow personally. Three lessons that I have learned from this leader are lessons that I think anyone can benefit from. The act of patience, recognizing that the ability to invoke change amongst employees that may have become jaded in their career does not happen overnight. I got to observe how Victor tackles challenging questions from employees who may be disgruntled as a result of a career experience. He introduces these thought-provoking concepts that encourages self-reflection. For some, it's a short change in attitude. For others, it may take longer. No matter how long, Victor remains committed to the cause of creating a more enjoyable workplace for everyone. Second, I've learned how important it is to stay committed to the psychological welfare of your team. In his supervisory role, Victor often shows genuine interest in both the professional and personal lives of his subordinates. And third, the significance of maintaining an attitude that does not negatively impact the team and those around us. I've noticed that even in challenging times of his own, Victor never allowed those moments to create a negative work environment. It's a reminder that in our duties, we have a commitment to others, which can be seen as something bigger than ourselves. And when it's time to perform, we perform at our best ability towards a common cause and not selfishly towards our own cause. I want to thank you for allowing me this time to sit down with you, and to all my fellow Bramman University students who reviewed my effective leader report and presentation.